we notice how Jillian, running away from people who love her and community to a place that ends up being detrimental. And again, trying to figure out how to say this, and then realizes it's detrimental, but runs back again. How many times do we do this? Where we continue to run to that bad thing in our lives, even though we know it's bad, but we feel it's safer than going to this place where people just actually like us for who we are.
Like she finds excuses too. She's like, oh, I must be too tired. That's why that happened. And that's why she feels safe to go back there again. And I think a lot of us do that because with Stella agrees with everything she says. And she agrees with her version of truth, right? And she just goes, yes, yes, and that's why that witch did that to you. And you know, it's just, we like that affirmation that what we think is correct. And we tend to go back to it, even though it might not be good for us.
We're talking about like narrative and this recording that we listen to in our mind all the time. And so when Julie talked about like, she had to like change the story from her mother. It's a narrative. Like I sit a lot of times and go, what's my narrative? What have I been believing and listening from what people have said, what I've seen, what people have presented the story to me. And I've lived out this sort of like narrative story. And then it's become a recording in my head of truth. And a lot of times I think, you know, women of our ages and all ages, there are moments where we have to stop and be intentional to say, is that true? Like, is that narrative of who I am, what's happened, who my dad was, who my mom is, what's happening around me, is that true? Or has that been told to me by someone else or the storyline? And then, you know, coming to God to say, okay, God, here's my tape recorder. Here's the storyline, what's true? And show me, right? Because I think a lot of times we live that way. We're living either someone else's story or untruths, and then we've created those as truths and we live that. And I think, you know, I think just even personally, you know, just sharing with you, that's been something I've been really thinking about and really having to come to God to say, okay, here it is. Is it true? Is it your truth? Is this helpful? Is this good? And, you know, please show me in the narrative, in the story, what is real and true. And I think that's, you know, even within this, everybody's has their story. They've come to this place because something has happened. Some storyline, something they believed, a lie from the enemy has then created this story. They believed it, they live it, and this is where they're at.